Okay, we will continue with triage analysis, the next step in the process. Okay, this process also helps to quickly determine if a machine has been compromised. Develop criteria based on the indicators of the compromise to help hasten identification of systems to triage. So this helps you figure out what other machines to triage. So this is that inner part of the smaller circles I was mentioning for the collect, examine, and analyze. This is the analyze piece. So this will help you hopefully get quickly to the next collection piece and the next examine piece. Identify triage systems for in-depth analysis or release for remediation. So hopefully you can start to remove the chaff, so to speak, and if a system doesn't seem to appear to have a significant part in this particular incident, then you can release it for remediation or possibly even back to its owner. Answer questions, these initial questions, right? Has data been exfiltrated? Is there an ongoing compromise? Does it continue to go? And what other machines need to be triaged? Okay. Asking the question, has data been exfiltrated? Is there evidence of unknown files created at the same time as a compromise? Some of those may be deleted by the intruder after exfiltration. So some of that may have to be done when more extensive possible data carving or at least file analysis is done. But that's what you're going to be looking for. Stages of the exfiltration process, collection and staging. That's where they go around, they look for files of interest, and they usually take them so they don't have to go out and find them again. They'll take a copy of them and they'll put them in a staging host. Most times those are relatively benign, maybe even not used very often machines. When we red team, we actually look for last time logged on, and sometimes we find machines that haven't been logged on in days, if not weeks, and we tend to pivot out of those hosts because somebody's not using that particular machine. So that may be the case here too. If you have an understanding of that, they go out and they look for lists of usernames, or if they can pull password hashes, and certainly more email addresses if they find them of interest. Maybe if the C-suite uses a different type of email, or if there's some internal special email addresses. In the government or in the military, we used to have, obviously we had a unclassified email address, and we also had a classified email address. So if they can find that, once they get in through the unclassified, if they're able to get the design or the format of something like a classified, or maybe if they have a proprietary, the organization is civilian, they may have a special email address as well. Packaging, they'll go in to make it a smaller footprint leaving and also taking less time. They will compress all the files together, and a lot of times to hide it, they will also encrypt that package. They'll try to bypass DLP, data loss prevention systems, and security sensors. They'll also do things like break them into smaller packages flowing through, and that way it doesn't look like a giant, 8 gigabyte or 13 gigabyte file flowing through. And then they'll go ahead and they'll exfiltrate and move it off-site, sometimes to a secondary staging area. And this, again, when we talked about jumping off points, sometimes you may also be that particular intrusion may have been to set up another host to be a secondary staging area, so you don't immediately, if for some reason they get caught, their evidence is not on their own home network yet. It's being staged in a different area. So sometimes an incident can happen where that's the case. And of course, they could pull it straight back to their primary download site. So identifying staging remnants can help determine if there is possibly exfiltrated content. You want to be looking for maybe a file structure with uncommon names. Or I say uncommon, but certainly the ones that don't generally match up to the ones that you have on your system. And they may be hidden in places like the System32 areas or temp areas on the drive. So they try not to stand out. They certainly, or you wouldn't think they would stick it up on something like just straight C and start creating their own file structure. Encrypted file archives make identification of exfiltrated content extremely difficult because you have to know what they used to encrypt it. There are programs out there that help with that, but generally speaking, once they've been encrypted, you just pretty much know the size of that encryption. You don't even know the true size because if they zipped it to begin with, you don't know what all is inside the actual encrypted package. Excuse me. If a content collection tool or script is identified and the time between the incident response and exfiltration of the archive is minimal, then search for the collection tool file name because it may also be used on other staging devices, so that could be a hint or a key for you to go look for that particular script or that tool, and you may get lucky and find the original command line call for the password.